If you are an e-commerce brand and you have been wondering how to leverage AI in your marketing mix, in your everyday, if you've been wondering how to go beyond just using ChatGPT to help you out with copy and maybe a few images here and there, today's conversation is going to be for you. Let's get into it, guys.
Meet Jordan West, the mastermind behind Social Commerce Club and the go-to expert in scaling e-commerce brands. Founder of Social Commerce Club, host of Secrets to Scaling Your Ecommerce Brand, e-commerce growth hacker, and a social commerce pioneer. If you're ready to scale your brand, drive real results, and harness the power of social commerce, Jordan West is your guy. Follow him now and take your e-commerce game to the next level.
Debarshi, welcome to Secrets to Scaling Your Ecommerce Brand. Great to have you. I've meant to have you forever. I'm really looking forward to this chat. Before we get going, for people who know nothing about you, tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, totally. Jordan, thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, I think we've known each other for a few years at this point and have never done this. So I'm excited we're doing this. Yeah, a little bit about me. My name's Debarshi. I am one of the co-founders of Maverick. We have an AI platform that helps e-commerce brands with their email marketing, which we'll dive a lot into. Little bit more about me. I live in San Francisco. I am about to have a baby in July, which is super exciting.
You're like, would you consider yourself a tech bro?
I mean, I think that's probably the most accurate description for me. Like, I moved out here like in 2012 when tech was like really like tech bro culture was popping off. And I think I am a tech bro.
You know what? I never pictured you as a tech bro, but like now I 100% see it. So you're having a baby in July. We are having our fourth child.
Oh, wow.
After an almost 6-year break in September.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Why?
On purpose.
Yeah. I was going to ask. You just you decided 3 wasn't enough and you're like, let's add a 4th to the mix?
Well, you know what? We look back on our life and on the last, 10 or 15 years. We've been married for 15 years now. We look back on our life and we're like, what do we want the next years to look like? And we realized that like having kids is the best thing we did. Like we've grown companies, we've done all this stuff and we've had massive failures. And all throughout that, we realized like, man, what we care about the most is family, right? And is our kids, we grew up on the show Parenthood. And if you remember Parenthood, it's like, all the kids coming back. We're moving to a new house actually where like we want to have the Parenthood table outside. And it's just like, I don't know, that's the life. So it makes me so happy when people tell me that they're having kids. I'm like, everything else will pale in comparison to you having kids. All of this convo, this is awesome. AI for e-commerce brands, massive, but only in the servitude of having an incredible family that you love.
I like that. I like that mindset a lot. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be kid number 1 for me. So I think lots to learn. Yeah. Any advice that you have, I would love to hear because you've been through it a lot.
Off camera, I will give you my my Jordan parenting advice. Yeah. Maybe that'll be like a bonus YouTube or podcast episode series. I just want to say something to the audience here. So I actually know, I've known of Maverick for a long time. So I had Chris Hull worked at the time at Bruce Bolt. And when I asked him, I said, what's some sort of like secret piece of software that you're using right now? He's like, oh, let me tell you about Maverick. And he showed it to me. And this was like, I think ChatGPT was out at the time, but it was before like the AI moment, really. Like it was before like we started really using this and we saw other people doing this. And I saw what you guys were doing and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Tell me a little bit about that product in particular, because I still think that it's an incredible use case and I'm sure it's gotten way better even.
Yeah, Chris is one of our like OG customers, like back when he was at Bruce Bolt. And you hit the timing on the head. So we started Maverick back in 2021, kind of in the summer then. That was before ChatGPT was a thing, but we were really excited about AI and in particular how AI could be used with video in order to just like kind of broadly generate really cool videos. But as we started talking to e-commerce brands and kind of realized that there was this use case around creating a really meaningful, high-touch, personalized touch point, but doing it at scale, that's when kind of the original concept of Maverick kind of came to be. And that's when we really honed in on the first part of our platform, which is AI personalized videos for e-commerce brands to send via email and SMS. So yeah, that product's been out for 4 years. We've made a ton of improvements to it and brands are just seeing really awesome results. I think the metrics uplift in terms of engagement is one thing, but I think what brands brands love the most is they'll send a video to one of their customers and get just these like authentic, amazed responses that are like, oh man, like no brand like treats their customers like this, or like, hey, I know it's AI, but like, thank you for sending me a video, just like stuff like that. That's really meaningful.
I want to tell you a quick story here about a brand that I used to own called Little and Lively. And I always like in anything, my favorite thing to do is just push, right? I'm just like, okay, let's try this, let's try that. So this is before the advent of, not before the advent of AI, but before AI became mainstream. And we were using a tool. So here is the theory that I had. So the theory that I had is that there are 8 steps to a relationship, right? And you need to move people through these steps of a relationship. And the purchase is really only step 5, right? And so to move people into more steps of the relationship, it's like, what do we need to do that? And so I thought, well, let's have some sort of personal note. And so this is before you could do this at scale with AI. Yeah. We actually had, so I tried to get my wife, who was the face of the brand, to send a personalized video to everyone. She's like, no, I will not be doing that. So instead we got our employees to do it. Like, hey, it's Jojo from Little and Lively. We just wanted to say, thank you so much for ordering from us. We're like a Canadian made brand. You know, we run everything out of this. And she would like show around the studio. And we just wanted to say, thanks so much. You're going to love these leggings. If you have any questions, go here. And we would love to personally invite you into our VIP group. Well, crazy. I have looked back at cohorts. That cohort while we sent a video to every person, their lifetime value was 20% higher than any cohort I've ever seen. I continued to look and I was like, what made that cohort so special? And that's what I looked at, was that, and the trust and the authenticity and the realness of all of that. And I think that you've now built that, and that was impossible to scale, especially as we grew and grew and grew. And I think we were doing, somewhere in the sort of like mid 7 figures at that point. Like, it's a lot of orders. I don't even know how you continue to scale that. So I just want to say the concept and the theory is amazing. Can you walk me through any like case studies that you have of is there anything like that you've seen?
Anything like what?
Like as far as like increased lifetime value, all of that, I'd love to hear.
What we were seeing, and this was kind of true across a lot of brands that we worked with. Bruce Bolt, where Chris Hall worked, was one of the premier ones. Dr. Squatch is another one that's been using our video product for a while.
What does their video look like? Can you like walk me through like what is a Dr. Squatch video that they send out to their customers? Yeah. And like, where in the funnel do they send it?
Yeah, totally. So Dr. Squatch's videos have the Dr. Squatch guy in them. And he is basically, I remember one of the videos that they had running previously, he was basically like sitting at a desk in their office playing the guitar, and then like would like be like, oh, hey, what's up? Didn't see you there. Thanks so much for like placing an order. Something along those lines. They and most of our brands are sending videos kind of in 3 specific touch points that are the most effective. So the post-purchase thank you is kind of the engagement LTV. You get a lot of really delighted responses from customers. So that's that touch point. And then welcomes and abandoned carts are the other ones. And those are more conversion focused. And there we're looking for conversion uplift. And we've seen up to like 20% conversion uplift just from sending those videos.
So I'm looking forward to hearing about your other AI stuff. I just want to like tease that for everyone that like we've got some crazy stuff that we're going to talk about, but I just want to touch a tiny bit more on this video stuff because I think that it's a very interesting use case of AI that like whatever I think of what's going to win in the future, right? Like my kids are asking me too. They're like, what are we going to do when we grow up? Because they play around with AI just as much as I do. Like we'll play around with AI together and they'll see all of the different things that I'm doing with AI. And I think that they realize like, what are we going to do for a job growing up? What is AI not going to do? And I think AI is not going to replace human to human interaction. I don't see anytime soon where that happens until we get to a point where it's like, you just can't tell. We think about like human touch, right? And like how important that is. And even all of this, the woo-woo stuff around the magnetic field around our heart and like all this stuff, right? That's like, there's these things out there that we can't really quantify. And I think that's never going to go away. So I think the more human that we can be, the better. This is AI for that. And so I wonder, how does that translate into sales? Does that work on abandoned cart? Does it work better than just, yo, you forgot your stuff in your cart, better come get it?
Totally. Yeah. I have always thought about AI and kind of broadly like automation. I think like the history of automation, people have just been like, oh, like, what are we going to do? And like, this is automated. And like, we always find more things to do because at the end of the day, what drives value for humans is other humans, other people. And that's why you like can't get rid of that person to person interaction. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Do
why I
you
think,
do you think, sorry, this is a total aside. We're going to
yeah,
get
yeah,
to the stats because I think the stats are going to be very interesting, but we're just going to go down to just a rabbit hole here
let's
for
do it.
just a second here. Do you think that that is true today? When I look at, and I'm going to say North America, because I'm going to say that we're almost as guilty in Canada. But when I look at the lack, I just got through The Anxious Generation, the book. And I think about the lack of wanting to get out there and do things and explore, and like this generation that's just stuck on their phone. And then the boys who are stuck, in their bedrooms playing video games, watching porn, like, and this whole group of people that like just weren't raised like we were. Like, we're so lucky that we still got to go and do things,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. Do you think that motivation is leaving? That's my worry.
Dude, that is a really interesting question. And, about to be a dad, I'm like, I'm going to have to think about this for like my kids also, right? I like, look, I think the basic desire for human connection is kind of just a constant, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's been a constant like throughout human history. I think the forms that it takes can change, and how like our ability to actually like do it can change, especially like when you have like lots of distractions, or like when you have like, oh, it's like really easy to like sit at home and like play a video game instead of like going out and like talking to someone, or like even
Totally.
even having a conversation like this, right? Like
Totally. It's so much easier to send like a LinkedIn message, right? Than
yeah,
like you and me sit down and be like, hey, let's spend 45 minutes talking about these things that I think
yeah,
are really important and interesting. But frig, am I ever going to be tired after doing this? Like, when I look at my Fridays, guys, I do a lot of podcast episodes and calls. I give a lot of free advice to people and do all of that kind of stuff. I'm launching this new e-commerce OS, by the way, which is
oh cool,
interesting. It's the first time that I've decided to like give back to founders, to e-commerce founders, that's not through the agency. So it's like a way, so people can go check that out, ecommerceos.co. There you go. And it's a lot of work. I'm like, I don't need to be doing this stuff, and yet there's something that it fills. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna be thinking tonight, like, oh, I'm so glad I did that rather than
yeah.
just sat around and did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I at Maverick, I spend most of my time doing product and engineering, but the opportunities I have to do conversations like this are so energizing. I think like because like human connection like is so important, right? It's important for
Mm-hmm.
like people, it's important for brands. And yeah, it's exciting to be able to do it.
I think that anything you can do, so if you can take AI and AI can help you do that, that's where brands are going to win, right? Brands are going to win because they're creating good connection.
Yeah.
So it's the difference in this is where we were at, by the way, is
Yeah,
the
that's right.
conversion
That's right.
rate
Yeah.
in these AI videos that we send
Yeah.
out versus a regular old
Yeah.
text or whatever.
Totally. Yes. We typically see like 3 to 5x higher engagement rate. And we define that as like click rate on, let's say, your abandoned cart emails or your post purchase thank yous. And then when you look downstreams to sales, varies depending on the brand. But like typically we net out at around like, like 20% uplift to conversion itself. But, there's a range there. Like we have seen in some cases like up to 2x conversion
Wow.
on those abandoned cart messages themselves.
For anyone who's ever run a team before, and a large team, which I have at the agency, and sometimes I'm going to let everyone know here, if you're listening to this, sometimes I don't like running a large team. The stuff I was dealing with right before this was just like, really? Like, sometimes when I had like the small brands, I was like, that was the life. Anyway, all that aside, engagement rate is the most important thing. When I think of what I care about most, in a team, in my emails, in everything. I am not looking at impressions. I'm looking at engagement rate. That is what I care about. It's the same thing on YouTube here, right? Like, I care that you guys are engaging up until now, and you're going to continue to engage because we're going to talk about some crazy stuff, and you better engage until the end because there's going to be a bombshell at the end of this. I feel like Trump is such a master at that. Like, watching as a Canadian, like watching his recent thing, maybe there will be an announcement, after this gets going. But like, I saw this thing yesterday. It was like, oh, I'm going to be dropping the biggest bombshell announcement ever. That's content creators. Get what you're doing here. I'm sure it's going to be a bombshell, just like I'm sure it would have been a regular announcement. But now that I'm like, what's he going to say? What is the bombshell?
I'm excited to hear it. I don't know.
So we know AI videos work. Tell me, what is this new thing that you're working on that you're so excited about that you're like, I have to come on and talk to you on the podcast about it?
Totally. Yeah. So with AI videos, we know that like customers kind of love getting them. We get like tons of delight in responses, engagement rate uplift, the conversion uplift on like abandoned carts welcomes. But one of the things that we realized kind of as we started putting our AI videos into SMS and email flows, we're like, hey, you can't send a video for every single touch point, right? Like you might send a customer like video for 3 touch points, 4 touch points, but like you can't do every single one, right? So as Maverick, we're like, hey, how do we, as kind of a generative AI focused company that is like embedding into brands' emails, like how do we drive value across all of your emails? Your every single flow, every single touch point that you have, and campaigns. Like, how do we drive value across those? And so as we were talking to brands, we realized a couple things. Number one is that brands are kind of on this like content treadmill with email. Like you are constantly just like trying to churn out the next campaign, like trying to make sure you set up your flows and then you just like don't touch them because you're like, oh, you got to get campaigns out.
Yeah.
What that means is brands, like they all know they should be testing. They all know like, hey, I should be A/B testing like my content.
Everyone says that. Yeah. Even like the biggest brands in the world, just everyone knows. We work with a lot of big brands and they all say the same thing and they all have the same problem that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, right? And everybody knows, right? It's like vitamins or like vegetables, right? Like everybody knows you should be eating your vegetables and taking vitamins, but nobody does. So that was one part of it. The other part of what we realized is like, hey, brands are again like focused on like designing these like beautiful emails, but oftentimes they aren't focused on like, hey, where is that email landing in your customer's inbox? Is it going into the inbox? Is it going to spam? Once it's in the inbox, which tab is it in? Is it in the promotions tab? Is it in the updates? Is it in the primary? And what we realized...
How do you know? Can you find that out?
You can. We have built like lots of internal tools that like kind of help us understand this. I don't think that Klaviyo or any other CRMs like kind of tell you, but you can kind of proxy by click rates and conversion rates. Like we've seen that like,
cool.
Yeah, that like landing in updates or primary can increase click and conversions like massively.
Course. Yeah. Of course they do. Yes.
Yeah. So those are all the problems. What we built, our solution is called Optimizr. And what Optimizr does is it will take your current email content, your flows and your campaigns, and it'll automatically generate a bunch of variations that it will test against your initial in order to make sure that it is kind of landing in the best possible spot, and then make sure that the content, like when somebody sees it, is maximizing conversion. What's really exciting about
how does it do it?
And basically, like when a brand like signs up with us, they'll connect their Klaviyo account, and then we'll pull in all of their email content. And then let's pick like a flow example. Let's say your first abandoned cart email. We will read that email content and then we will be like, okay, this is your current subject line. This is your preview. Let's generate 4 new versions. And so we use AI to generate like 4 alternative versions of that email subject line and preview compared to your first one. And then
are you just testing one element? And sorry,
Yeah.
Did you know I was going to be so annoying, Debarshi?
No,
Did
I
you
love
know? Were you like, wow, I'm surprised that Jordan steps over me on every single. It's just because I'm so interested.
No, I love
This
it.
stuff's so interesting to me. Just
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you keeping me on my toes. We are changing a few elements. We started with the subject and preview. Now we're also like adding additional content like to the email itself. We're going to move into like, ideally you could test the entire email, right? Like
yeah.
any image in it, like we would generate 4 variations. Any like body copy, your CTAs would generate variations. Today we're focused on specific parts, subject line, preview, sender address, stuff like that we've seen has a really high impact on
sender address.
Yeah.
Talk me through that. What, like, you're changing up the sender address?
Yeah, this is one thing that we test, actually. We have seen that the address that you send emails from can have a massive impact on click rate and conversion rate. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and we're still kind of digging into our data here. But let's say support at, for instance, versus info at versus hello at can make a massive difference.
What about Jordan at?
Jordan ad is probably the best of them. If I had to guess with no data, like for a new brand, Jordan ad is probably better than like hello ad or info ad. But we have seen that, a lot of factors impact where an email lands. It's like domain reputation, history of the content in the email. And we've seen that by optimizing pieces of that, including the sender address, we can just make it so you land in primary, land in updates instead of promotions.
That's a really big deal, right? Because promotions is where things go to die.
Totally.
Are you going to sell this tech to everyone? Because I feel like that's the play here.
Yeah. So
I'm like, why doesn't Beehive have this for my newsletter? I'd love to know this stuff. Like, why doesn't Klaviyo have this?
Today we are hyper focused on e-commerce. Like, we have been a company that serves e-commerce brands like since our inception. But yes, we think this is, anyone that is sending emails, I think could benefit from a product like Optimizr that will, make sure you land in the best place possible, and then test a bunch of messages, test a bunch of layouts to make sure you are driving the best or sending the best possible message and driving the most incremental revenue. But yeah, I think eventually sell to everyone. Today, hyper focused on e-commerce.
Optimizr sounds really cool. Yeah. It sounds like a tool that I really want to send some people over to test, especially with some like really big email lists, because that's a really big deal, right? If you can get an email out there and into more people's inboxes so that they see it and click on it, like, it's just such a big deal. It's such a big deal.
Yeah. We had like lots of furious debates internally about like what matters here, like what can you even impact, right? And what we've learned is that the number one thing that matters is that people see your email, and then the number two thing is like, once they see your email, like, what are you actually saying in it? And we've seen that we can actually impact both through AI generated content, which is awesome.
That is so cool. It's actually interesting. One of the things that I've said for years, right, is like the most important thing in an email is who it's from, right? And I've never actually thought that. Like, I never thought about it the way that you're saying it, like the actual sender. But I'm like, it matters that the person that the person has trust, or that the brand has trust, right? Yeah. That's the most important part of sending an email, is like, do you trust this person, and do you want to click on their email because you trust them and you want to hear from them? Okay, we're going to shift here.
Let's do it.
I'm going to ask you, what is one thing, and I know you asked me for questions before, Debarshi. Yeah. And I refuse to give them to anyone.
I love it. Again, I like off the cuff. You just keep me on my toes. This is fun.
This is like episode, 650 or something like that. Like, This is one of my favorite things to do. And I just absolutely love it. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, Jord, I should come on this podcast and talk, feel free to send me a LinkedIn message or an X message. And I check both those inboxes. So don't send me an email, though. I don't check that's where everything goes to die. Tell me this. What's one thing that you used to believe that you don't believe anymore?
I never actually believed in Santa Claus. I was going to say Santa Claus, but I'm like, I don't think I ever believed in Santa Claus. That's not right.
Not if you're a San Francisco tech bro. You definitely were like, No, mom
No.
and dad. No,
Yeah,
does
yeah,
not
yeah,
logically make
absolutely
sense.
not. Yeah, at the age of
I'm
like
too smart
3
for that.
or whatever. Yeah, this is kind of a company thing. I used to believe that like our company should be delivering, because this is what brands care about, attributed revenue, like Klaviyo or like any SMS platform, Attentive or Postscript. They're all like, hey, you sent this email and it made you like $10,000 or whatever, and it's attributed revenue. And so for the longest time, we're like, hey, this is what brands care about. They want to know like how much money they're making from this email, right? And so we should orient our company around that. And like those are the metrics we should report. And then what we learned is if you're a brand like, and you add up like the attributed revenue from like your Facebook ads plus your TikTok plus your Klaviyo plus your Postscript, that number, you add those up and you're like, oh, that is 3x higher than the actual amount of money that I'm making.
Totally.
Like, what the
Yes.
heck,
Brand
right?
owners
Like,
know. Hashtag brand owners know.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like, okay. So what we realized is like, what you want at the end of the day when you're doing your marketing is you want to be like, hey, I signed up for this product and it is making me more money than I would have without this product. What you care about is incremental revenue. And that's kind of what we've oriented Optimizr and our company around. What we do is we always keep your original content as a holdout, and then our generated variations are always compared to your original content. So we can always, Maverick's version made you like $5,000 more than your original version, and we know because it's an A/B test. And so I used to believe in attributed revenue, and now I believe in incremental revenue. And also, thank you for letting me shoehorn that answer I wanted to say into your question that you asked, because I'm not sure.
Absolutely. No, that was brilliant. I didn't even prep you for this. This is great.
Yeah.
This is a one of the reasons why I have been obsessed and why I love TikTok Shop so much is because it's a brand new revenue stream. It's funny. There's like, we work with a lot of like really big, well-known brands, right? And so what they were doing at first, and luckily people have been following me on LinkedIn and not doing this anymore, but they were putting TikTok Shop into their marketplaces. And I'm like, so you think that Amazon, that is a demand capture channel, should be led by the same person that's on TikTok Shop that is a full demand gen channel? Two completely different things. And so, because then the Amazon person is like, well, how do I know that this is net new revenue? I'm like, so you think people are going over to TikTok to go search for your product? It's not that kind of place.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of place.
That's
This is all brand new revenue. All brand new to you. And which is why I love, why I love it as a channel, because it's just so easy. All of this is net new revenue. And all of that massive Amazon increase is also new revenue.
Yeah. It's just new. And it's so hard for brands to know, usually, unless you have a channel like a TikTok Shop,
which is like this like closed ecosystem type of thing, right? Which is why I love that you gave that answer. Okay, I got two more questions for you here. Next one, what's your biggest failure?
I think we have, honestly, like so many failures to speak of. I think one of them, I'll give you a broad one from the entrepreneurial journey. I think my co-founder and I spent 2 years like working on different ideas before Maverick. And we tried every idea like under the sun. We tried, dating apps, because everyone's got to make a dating app, right? Like a note-taking app, relationship coach. We had a platform for betting at one point. We were working on a neobank for freelancers at one point. And all of those failed. I think like probably we launched like 15 to 20 different unique products, and every single one.
I feel like I know you more. This is great.
Yeah. It wasn't until we were like, we just need somebody to pay us money for something. Like as entrepreneurs, we were just like, we built all these products. We like collected these sign-up lists, let like people use it for free. We're just like, will somebody pay us like any money for any product? Eventually we got there with the Maverick AI personalized video product. Like our very first customer paid us $10, literally $10. And we were like, somebody paid us money. This is something. And so I'd say that our biggest failure was it's not wasted time, but certainly I wish that it didn't take us 2 years to be like, let's just get somebody to pay us money for something. I wish that we had gotten there a lot faster, because I think it would have made our journey a lot easier.
I think that's the ultimate test of whether something is viable or not, right? Is like, will somebody pay you for it? And maybe if you're a good salesperson, which most founders kind of have to be, then that's sort of how you get there. What I like to think about in this sense is like founders, and you guys listening to this, right? As founders, you need to be a Roomba, right? A Roomba, when they're mapping a room, goes around. Oh, by the way, we're going to be working with Roomba very soon. I think that's why I've been thinking about Roomba so much lately. I'm like, oh yeah, Roombas.
Yeah, it's a DJ for you too.
But think about this, right? A Roomba, when they're mapping a room, or it doesn't have to be the iRobot brand, but the type of Roomba that we're all talking about here, they just continually are hitting this. No, didn't work. Hitting this. No, didn't work. Hitting this. No, didn't work. Hitting this. And then being like, sweet, I got an open space here. Let's munch some garbage, right? That is what founders do. And so like hearing that you had 15 different ideas, I'm just like, oh, yes. Yes.
You've lived it, I'm sure. It sounds like you've definitely lived it, right? Like, I think a lot of...
My Roomba has fallen off a few staircases. In my personal Roomba, the Jordan Roomba, has fallen off a staircase or two. But I'll tell you, I continually get back up that staircase and keep going. I got one more question for you, Debarshi.
Let's do it.
What is your secret to scaling?
It all starts with an awesome product, I think. Like, I think in the space we're in e-commerce SaaS and in AI, right? Like, there's a lot of hype, right? Everybody is excited about AI, but I think at the end of the day, what like you need to do to grow your business is you need to deliver a ton of value for your customers. Mm-hmm. And that starts with the product, right? If your product isn't delivering value, it doesn't really matter how good your sales team is. You're not going to scale. So for us, it starts with like having that really solid foundation for growth. And as I mentioned earlier, like we've worked really hard to align what our product does with what brands want, which is like brands want to make more money. Marketing departments at brands, they want to make incremental revenue, more money. And so we've built a product that does that. And so I think that is kind of the secret to scale for us. And then we just go and sell the shit out of our product. And so that's what we're doing.
Before we go, I had a really interesting conversation with Larry Kim. I don't know if you've ever met him before. He was the founder at WordStream and a bunch of stuff. I've seen Larry over the years, and he booked into my calendar today, and we were chatting about this new thing that he's building called Customers.ai. And I realized, I'm like, oh, Larry, I see why you have been the winner in everything that you've done, because his product is so much better. Customers.ai is like a retention.com, right?
Okay.
But they do head-to-head tests, and he gets like 7x the amount. He's able to identify 7x the amount of visitors that a retention.com is, because they built it in a totally different way using AI. Right. And Adam's great. He's been on the podcast before. Great guy. But the dude's a salesman. He can sell up to a certain point, and obviously retention.com wasn't quite there. Right. And that's great. They're doing their thing. But Larry's a product guy. And like even being on the call, Larry, you're a freaking horrible salesperson. A horrible salesperson. But I think you probably have the best product out there. So very interesting. Debarshi, thanks for coming on and having this really great conversation. I enjoyed this so much. Maverick, where can people find out more about you? And you got any good offers or anything for Maverick, or what can people do?
Trymaverick.com. One day we will own the Maverick.com domain name, but not today. So trymaverick.com is where we're at. And for anybody that kind of signs up, mention this podcast, and we will give you 1 month of Optimizr free for all of your campaigns and your flows.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. I'll make sure, guys, that all of this is down in the show notes. Debarshi, what an awesome conversation. Again, guys, I'm looking to have some great conversations like this with great people. If you think you're one of them, reach out to me. I've had some mostly amazing conversations over the years, but some that I'm just like, this was one that I freaking loved. Debarshi, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Jordan, appreciate it. And thank you for asking awesome questions and keeping me on my toes. I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.